pretty good niche. I'm pretty fortunate. Um, and then you go, that really back then, um, late 90s, there wasn't what you would call a trop rock scene of any kind, because you would stumble across other songwriters, and a lot of it was who you'd see on the road or at a festival,
Right.
or hear rumors of, because you didn't have websites, you didn't have, nobody was tweeting out their gigs or their Facebook page or anything. That didn't exist. And so I probably had 50 CDs rattling around on the floor of my van, and you'd pick them up and listen to them. And a lot of them were the local ones you got from people. And so many of them had one killer song and then 11 atrocious ones. And you'd start to think, wow, these would be great if they were all together. And it just kind of evolved into a project. And I told my wife, don't look at the checkbook, we'll be fine. End up getting the artwork from a woman in Florida, and produced, I think, the first Thongs in the Key of Life compilation came out in 1999. And nobody knew who Brent Burns was. James White, a friend of mine, had seen him in the Caymans and sent me a couple of cassettes. I'd heard of John Reno because he was doing a college show called something like Pirates, Poets, and Margaritas.
Yeah.
And my kids were little, and we drove well over 100 miles to see him at a noon hour show at McHenry Community College in Illinois. Otherwise, I'd never met him in person. And so we put together this CD project, and it proved to be pretty successful. I mean, you had bands that no longer exist, like Saint Somewhere, Matt Hall, and of course, Quincy Yates was part of that. Mango Mango had some great solo writers. I think at the time I had met Jim Morrison on vacation in Florida, and he had just come out with his second CD, Boca Nuts. So I wrote, had gotten some advice on how to get the licensing agreements, made sure that the writers got their songwriting royalties and that they kept any digital download rights. It was basically for exposure, and it was good music. There were some good songs on there. And I was in Texas at Larry Joe Taylor's festival, and I got another call from my wife, said, MTV's looking for you.
MTV.
And they had gotten the CD, and back then Amazon was in its infancy as well. And I sent them one CD. I got permission to send one CD, and I was very excited. And shortly after, I got an email back. They wanted two, and I thought, this is great. And about 4 days later, I got an email saying, we need 200 of these. And it went like that. We'd put stickers on. My kids and I would take a wagon, little red wagon full of CDs and envelopes and boxes up to ship to Amazon.
Wow.
So, you're not talking Warner Brothers, but the first volume sold about 11,000.
Dang, I didn't realize you pushed that many units. Wow.
That's unheard of by local standards.
Yeah.
Of course, there weren't a lot of digital downloads either.
Right.
And the artists themselves could sell it at their gigs. Disney called and got 24 copies to play at their lagoons because there was no offensive lyrics. And then we donated money. I think 50 cents from every CD sold went to the education fund of a lake schooner here in Milwaukee to bring kids out on the water. So it did some good. Introduced people to Brent Burns was on there. John Reno, Michael C. and Island Fever, James White, Jim Morris, Danny Morgan. I'm not sure who else off the top of my head, but nobody'd ever heard of these outside their region. So it kind of opened some eyes and got some exposure to some really good writers. And then, of course, that led to volume 2, volume 3, volume 4. And by the fourth volume, the CD sales had started to drop like any other CD sales because you could download stuff, and they all served their purpose and did well. And I think they did well for the artists. Well worth doing. But that's kind of, that was evolving along with the Parrot Head music scene, which evolved into Trop Rock, by offshoot of the Margarita Mafia.